Hi, I'm Mark Cooper, board certified gastroenterologist, and we're going to talk about what you've been putting off, but you can't anymore. We're going to need to do it. We're going to need to prep for a colonoscopy, and we're going to show you how. Patients often ask, do I really have to prep for colonoscopy? Yes, I'm afraid you do. And the reason is I'm essentially a skin doctor. If you were to go to your dermatologist to ask them to find skin cancer, you'd certainly do so clean, I hope. And similarly, I'm looking at the skin inside of you. It's called the mucosa. And your colon mucosa is typically quite dirty. We need to give it a shower, get it cleaned out and ready for the camera. To understand what a colonoscopy actually entails, see our separate video demystifying the colonoscopy. Here, we're making a plan for how you're going to prep for the colonoscopy, which actually starts a week ahead the big day. And it's awful, a week of prep, but don't worry. To start with, we're just making changes and making a plan. And the first thing to consider is who will be taking you to your colonoscopy. This is not the time to be using a ride-sharing app. You don't want to be going to your colonoscopy with a stranger and actually pass another bowel movement after your prep. Because you want to go with someone you know and you trust and you're comfortable with, and you want to bring a towel and probably a change of clothes. When you're returning from the colonoscopy, you're going to have received sedation. So again, you need to be with someone you trust. So we ask that you have a responsible adult to take you to and from your colonoscopy. In the week ahead, you're going to be making some changes to your medication, a plan that you'll make with your provider because it's very specific to you. But here's some general advice. You have to be thinking about blood thinners or anticoagulants, Plavix, warfarin. Now, baby aspirin is generally safe to continue, but these other medications are more potent and they have a higher risk for bleeding, something that can certainly happen when we do a colonoscopy and remove polyps. If you're a person who very recently had a heart attack and are freshly on a blood thinner, this may not even be the right time to be embarking on a colonoscopy. So ensure that everybody is on the same page, your heart doctor, your GI doctor, and that there's a good plan here. Next, we have to consider diabetes. If you're a person who takes insulin, you're going to be making changes to your insulin regimen to match the changes that you're going to be making to your diet. If you're a person who tends to be constipated, set yourself up for success. Make sure you're diligent in taking any bowel regimen that you've been recommended to have. The exception to this is fiber. Fiber makes you produce more poop, and more poop means more prep. So hold fiber the week ahead of your colonoscopy. People who have iron deficiency anemia are often advised to have a colonoscopy. They're also often advised to take iron. But we want you to hold that iron in the week ahead of your colonoscopy. The reason being is that it tends to be constipating, and iron also tends to make your stool very dark, which makes for poor prep. Now, a week ahead of time, you're also going to want to pick up your prep. And there's a lot of options out there. There's some over-the-counter options to prep for a colonoscopy, and then there's also some prescription options. And your gastroenterologist will work through that with you. Get them a week ahead so you make sure you have them on hand and you've had a chance to look at what the prep instructions are, as they can sometimes be confusing. And this gives you an opportunity to ask any clarifying questions. The other thing I want you to pick up when you're at the drugstore getting your prep meds is think about taking care of down there, because things can get pretty raw during this process. So think about getting either baby wipes or aloe wipes or even some like baby butt paste. This is the time to pamper your rear. 3 days ahead of your colonoscopy, you're going to begin to make some changes to your diet. First, we ask that you start to reduce the amount of fiber in your diet. This is no longer the time to be having a kale and quinoa salad. We also would ask that you avoid fruits like dates, pineapple, kiwi that can tend to have a lot more fiber. This is also the time to avoid more tough fibrous meats and opt for ground meat. All of this is intended so that poop flows through you more smoothly and you begin to clear out. The other thing is to start to drink more water. This will ensure that you go into everything really well hydrated. That ensures that the IV that we're going to start to give you anesthesia is much easier to place, and it also ensures that things flow through you smoothly. The day before your colonoscopy is when you go to the clear liquid diet. And this is when admittedly things really start to feel worse. You have a very restricted diet on a clear liquid diet. But kind of think of it as like you're a kid who's home from school sick and is eating all the Jell-O and popsicles they wish. What we do ask though is do not have any red or purple dyes. It's not the time for the cherry and grape flavors. Hopefully you like lime and lemon. The other thing that we would ask is that you avoid alcohol. As you start to have your prep, it can seem like you're playing a college drinking game. We say that you'd be having some prep almost every 15 minutes. So this is not the time for a power hour. No alcohol the day before your colonoscopy. And that's again to consider the effects that it could have on anesthesia and the difficulty that it could mean for placing an IV if you're dehydrated from all that drinking. Now, the day before, people sometimes ask, well, can I have soup? Can I have more of a full liquid diet? Why does it have to be clear liquid? The reason is that when we're doing a colonoscopy, there's going to be some residue. And if that is clear liquids, then it's relatively easy for us to wash and suction up. But if you were to have cream in your coffee, then we're going to have a murky pool that we can't see through. Think if you've had a glass of milk that you've nearly finished and there's a little bit of residue at the bottom. As you go to wash that glass, fills up with water, and it's cloudy water that you can't see through. We would have the exact same problem when performing the colonoscopy. So that's why we ask that this be a clear liquid diet. So there's no residue, and we can also see through any puddles of fluid. The night before the colonoscopy is the part you've been dreading, and that's the actual colonoscopy prep. Whatever product you may have to prep, the result is the same. You're basically clearing out the entire colon, and that is an uncomfortable process, and hence why I encourage that you get some luxury items for your rear end so that it's as comfortable as possible. Most of the preps are either something you do all at once, or it is what's called a split prep. The idea of a split prep is that while you have stopped eating after midnight before your colonoscopy, your liver continues to make bile, your intestines continue to make intestinal juices, and all of that product is going to show up in your colon come morning. And so we do a secondary flush out in order to get that last portion cleansed. Whatever process you go through, how do you know if you've had a good prep? Well, it should be completely clear. It's going to be clear yellow or clear green because your body continues to produce bile, and so there is going to be color to the fluid. But if you think of taking a penny and setting it at the bottom of the toilet, you should still be able to see Abe Lincoln's head. There shouldn't be any sediment obscuring the view, because if you can see that, then that means I'm similarly going to be able to see polyps through any residual pools of fluid that may be present in your colon. Now, there's a lot of different preps on the market, and going into the details of those individually is not something I can do in this video. If you have interest in some of those, leave comments below, and then maybe in a video we can make in the future. This isn't going to be easy, but with preparation, it's a lot more manageable. It can be a more comfortable experience, and you can also have a greater sense of security that you got an effective prep, which means that the colonoscopy has the best opportunity to find and remove polyps. And with that, you have the opportunity to prevent colon cancer. If you've been on the fence at all, I hope this video gets you motivated to go out and plan a colonoscopy and be ready to prep. If you found this to be informative, please subscribe to find future content in which we'll cover other topics of GI health. I appreciate your time watching. I'm Mark Cooper. Be safe.